Welcome back, Washed Up Walk-Ons fans. Episode 246 of the podcast. And today, ladies and gentlemen, is my flu game. I am absolutely banged up from a weekend in Las Vegas for reasons that most people would not expect. I believe I got some food poisoning last night at a Brazilian steakhouse. And I actually believe that those sorry sons of bitches meant to do it because they stopped coming to our table for like 20 or 30 minutes because they were tired of serving me. Because, like Kevin knows, when I go to Fogo, I get my money's worth. And all of a sudden, they started bringing me the top shelf shit. And next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I am making dirty hurricanes. And I ain't talking about Miami. And it has been one of the worst days of all time, me spent on the old porcelain throne. And I donned myself king of the shitters today. That's all I really got. I'm really going to try and turn this one over to Kevin and Tyler so they could make something of this. I am a worthless piece of shit this afternoon.
Dirty hurricanes might be the most disgusting term I've ever heard in my entire life.
My goodness. Okay, so man, another welcome in, I guess, to
You never know what you're going to get. You'd think we'd be talking about the Hawks' huge victory. No, you get dirty hurricanes.
Yeah, that's straight Kulik for those that are new to the podcast, and there may be a fair amount in that group this week, as you guys have been, both my family and you guys, the listeners, have been in my messages and texting me saying that they have been playing our walk-on sort of promo, 30-second promo across the state. They've been hammering it, right? So shout out to our boys at iHeart for just blasting us across the state. We've got a bunch of new listeners, and you guys are basically in for three former guys who saw a lot of action. We're going to talk about the action, and evidently Drake's been having the action all day long.
Boys and girls, it was 3:30 in the morning, and we were trudging through Planet Hollywood to the car because Kovac decided he was going to get a flight out at damn 5. And then here I am on the road. I made it about 40 miles outside of Vegas before I had to pull over at the very first gas station I saw. I tried to take a nap, but it quickly turned into a bathroom emergency. I made 3 stops on the 4.5-hour drive from Vegas to Arizona, and that is how my post-game celebrations have been spent.
Wow, that is tough. A tough weekend for Drake. Not a tough
But all 4 of my bets hit last night, so who's really winning?
Well,
the fans would have liked to have known those bets other than the ones that we gave.
Yeah, the walk-ons had a rough first week. We will get to the betting. We're going to talk.
I wish I would have looked at the fact that UNI was being given 31 points against Iowa State, because I bet it, but I didn't say it on the podcast. UNI's beat them 2 of the last 3 times, if I'm not incorrect, and they're being disrespected with a 31-point line. That's asinine.
Well, I just think it's the whole. It rolls with the.
It's the hype around Iowa State. These guys, they don't exactly have to be right with their lines. They have to have it so it's like.
Kev, you might want to move a little closer to the mic.
They want like half money on one side, half the money on the other side.
Yeah, they want it. Yeah, I mean it's a game that they're playing. It's not exactly. It's the game outside the game. So, I just told Kevin before we hit the record button, I took the old UNI Panthers to cover that 30-point line as well in a teaser. Again, I'm sorry, Walk On Nation. A lot of you took the picks in this first week. I feel so bad. Here's where we're going to, there's no excuses. Okay. And sports betting is sports betting, but the first week is always the hardest week. And Kev, we're just going to do this segment right now. We're going to get it out of the way.
We're going to air it out
before we talk about the good stuff. Okay. So the walk-ons each had 3 picks on the graphic. We put it up on Instagram, on Twitter. Tyler Kluver picked Northwestern to win to cover their -3 line, I believe. We picked Illinois to cover a -5.5 line. And I picked Ohio State to cover 14. Ohio State won by exactly 14. The other two were no-goes in a big way regarding Northwestern. Maybe the surprise of maybe not the surprise. I don't know. We're going to talk about those games too. Kevin went 0 for 3. And
I really wish I'd have woke up and just texted y'all my bets Saturday morning, because I woke up and took Iowa cover, UNI cover, Georgia cover, and then I parlayed all three and just bang, 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 bang.
Wow. Drake.
Yeah, my side action did pretty well too, but Ohio State first half -7, looking great until Ibrahim breaks off a 4th and 1 run from their own fucking 29-yard line down to their 8.
That's 5.
And then, the rest of the half just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Kev really got to get close to the mic, boys.
A Northwestern.
Yeah, and you're a little loud too, Drake. I think we're on so you could turn that down on probably your settings. Northwestern what, Kev?
Northwestern, Michigan State under. Michigan State breaks off the very first run from scrimmage for a 75-yard tutter.
Yeah.
Not a great start there. And then actually had a chance until they scored like 2 touchdowns with less than 2 minutes to go. So that over hits, lost there. And then I told y'all I felt the Illinois bet was super baity. Ended up betting it anyway and throwing it out there for you guys, and they couldn't stop they couldn't stop UTSA for their damn lives.
Which is interesting. We're gonna get to the Hawkeye game. We're gonna recap the Hawkeye game and all of the questions maybe that are coming out of that Indiana Iowa 34-6 game. First of all, I want to go around the Big Ten quick. Obviously, the other big game that was in conference, it was Penn State, Wisconsin, a game that for Iowa fans should be watched very, very closely. And that is because anytime the Hawks, who are a perennial contender in the West, anytime that the Hawks can get the stalwart of the West to lose a Big Ten game, that's a big deal. And that is exactly what happened this weekend. I watched a decent amount of that Wisconsin Penn State game. I don't know if you got to see any of it, Kev. It was bad football.
I watched the whole thing.
It was not a great football game.
There was
in a way,
play in there.
Yeah, sloppy.
Yeah, it was. But then it also had that Big Ten feel.
You're right.
Really good defenses going after it. But I feel like the offense has had some unnecessary struggles, some self-made errors. But
Wisconsin struggled in the red zone bad.
Yeah,
struggled in the red zone. Fumbled one time. They looked disconnected. Penn State, they look like they have a couple.
Wisconsin lost the turnover battle 3-0.
Yep.
If you win a football game losing 3-0 in turnovers, then you're a god, because that's like impossible.
Yeah, turnover battle's huge. They ran 95 plays, and had like.
I'm looking at the time possession here, 42-7, almost 43-17.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I don't know how they lost, but they found a way, and it's interesting. Late in the game, Mertz took an absolute shot from a guy who ended up getting ejected. It was a Big Ten football game. Wisconsin was at home, and they were the higher seed, 12 seed. They're going to drop. Iowa will they will be ranked higher than Wisconsin now.
Iowa is the de facto leader of the Big Ten West.
Of the Big Ten West, and we're
to go get right now.
Yeah, and we're going to talk.
I don't think that's not even like hype up hearsay bullshit. Looking at the standings, they're right there.
Yeah,
them and Purdue. No, yeah, they're the only ones 1-0 in conference.
Yep.
Oh, Illinois is too, but they just lost. So
right. So, man, that was the other big game of the day, and obviously that has implications for the West race. We'll get to that more in a bit. Maryland beat West Virginia. So,
did y'all see the graphic they came out with?
No, what was it?
They put they put a graphic out there and it said, "Take me home, country woes." And instead of WVU for West Virginia, they crossed out the W and put an L.
Oh no.
That's just like
they were memeing them on national television.
Getting aggressive out there on Twitter.
You have to for the clicks, So good win for Maryland, though. They, you need to win that game if you're going to be considered any sort of respect in the conference, right? Illinois, after a big first win again, I wouldn't call it a big first win, but it's a big win for the guy's first game, staff's first test. They go home they play UTSA and they drop one. So we don't really know where they're at. Minnesota and Ohio State played on Thursday night. Minnesota actually looked a little bit salty against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then their star running back potentially ended his season with an injury that I saw, and I'm sure many of you saw on Twitter. I could only watch it like 2 or 3 times before I couldn't anymore. It hurt me.
Yeah. Best case scenario, pulled calf. He's out for a month.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, he absolutely obliterated his Achilles tendon. Yeah. And he's out for much longer than a month.
Yeah.
You never want to see that.
No, I mean, he's their best player on offense. People make a big deal out of their offensive line. They're big. I don't think they get a whole lot of push, though.
No.
Granted, they were going against Ohio State defensive line, but
they have a guy on the all-body team, though. He's 6'9", 385 pounds.
Oh,
Falele,
whatever, isn't it? Yeah, dude, he's a big dude, but like I said, I think they're leaners. They get on you and they lean.
Yep. They don't. Let's just say this: they don't come off the ball like Iowa does.
So I mean, it takes a good back to make that offensive line good, and they had an elite talent there
one of the best in the country. Yeah, and
that they're really going to miss the rest of the year.
I was just going to say, what do you think?
I don't know if Tanner Morgan carries that offense.
No, because they don't have a Rashad Bateman this year, right? They
have that transfer from what's A&M or Tech, Texas A&M or Texas Tech.
One of them, but it's not enough, dude. Like I thought Minnesota may be able to make a little bit of a push, make a few games scary, maybe challenge a Wisconsin, maybe challenge Northwestern. At this point, Northwestern might be a good game.
They're going to come out and play hard for sure. I think, they're by no means going to be the bottom of the Big Ten West.
No, but I don't think they'll challenge to win it either. Without Ibrahim.
Correct. Without him, and many people don't think running backs make that big a difference anymore, but I think he is that kind of playmaker for that team.
Yeah.
Where without him, I don't think they're in the Big Ten West Conference conversation anymore.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm going to say something that is real and is 100% truth. And it's just what you get with this podcast. So welcome to the Wash Up Walk-Ons. If this is your first episode, 246 in, and this is the guys, Kevin and Drake, are going to say, well, that makes sense because they know me on a real personal level. When I actually went to bed because I care about sleep and I didn't care about watching the rest of that game. I woke up in the middle of the night. I checked my phone. I couldn't go back to sleep. So I checked my phone real quick. Twitter feed, saw that Ibrahim, however you pronounce his name, got hurt. First thing I thought was, hell yes. That was my initial reaction. And that is just, dude. And
wrong.
It was my initial unformed reaction was, the competitor in me, dude, I know I'm a bad person, but it's like, okay, well, Minnesota's an easier out now. And then after 5 seconds of initial reaction, I thought, damn, that really sucks. Like I want to play. My emotional, rational brain came back around and I was like, I wish that we could play them at full strength. So the win meant more. And I hate to see a guy injured, but after the fact, if the injury's already happened and I'm not cheering against someone to get injured, my initial reaction, and I'm sure other people's was too, was like, oh, we don't have to go. It sucks, but we don't have to go against him on defense. But yeah, that was, so anyone who felt that, don't feel bad because I also felt it too, but also know that you shouldn't cheer for people to get hurt. But I'm a bad person, bad purse, and that's okay. Do you hate me,
I just
Kev?
think that's one of those things, Kluver, that you just don't have to tell people. Okay?
No, you do, because this is the podcast.
Go ahead and be a bad person in your own self. You just don't have to go and broadcast that. Okay. No one's like put a gun to your head. It's like, you were happy, weren't you?
Admit it. You wanted him to get hurt, you bitch.
Clover, you know what I'm not happy about?
What?
The whole special teams roster thinking that they belong at the front of the bus instead of the back, and leading one of the most well put together Hawkeye teams in a long time down the tunnel in week 1. How about you fucking move it on back, kids who don't play? Move it on back.
So I have a loose script that sits beside the Zoom window when we do this podcast. And I have a little sort of agenda of topics to talk about, right? Number 1 on the top of the agenda tonight was the Swarm featured 3 specialists and Max Cooper in the front. And I love the boys, man. Spiewak, Shudak, Gersonde. You guys know, you guys were like my
Gersonde. You got put on scholarship 5 years ago to just be in a uniform, kid. You literally, the Hawks have been playing with 84 scholarships because of that kid. And he thinks he can lead the Hawks down the tunnel? Are you joking me?
My guy's given a lot to the program. He got hurt a couple times, but I will say to my boys and Max Cooper, it's not the look. It's not the aesthetic that a team really, and I understand they're all seniors.
Not exactly striking fear into the heart of the opponent.
Right? Like Epinesa or Josie Jewell or Tristan Wirfs or Brandon Sheriff, those are the guys you lead down the tunnel with, right? And I understand first game, senior year, all 4 of those guys are seniors, but man, don't be the ones that are on the camera, right? Like and I'm a hypocrite because when we walked down the tunnel at Ohio State, I accidentally ended up at the front. That was not meant to happen. But my guy Shudak is 5'8", maybe 62 pounds. and he's leading them down the tunnel, man.
Did y'all see that one video of them all running into the tunnel?
And it said like big man on campus.
Yeah.
I love my guys.
Shout out my man Shudak. He's been waiting a long time to get the starting gig. He gets it. He goes 2 for 2 on field goals. Really goes like 5 for 5 because he got iced 3 times. And
his kickoffs were, I think every one was a touchback. He's got a monster leg.
And he's a generally legendary human being.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Way to go, Shudak. I'll let Shudak lead him out the tunnel.
It's fine if they're in the front and they lead the Swarm, right? Because it expands once you get out of the tunnel. But let's get Lindy in front, man. Let's get Justin Britt in front. Can we get 6'5", absolute specimen Jack Campbell at the front of the pack? That's what I'm asking, Whatever it was, it did something because Michael Penis Jr. and the Indiana Hoosiers came out and they were scared or something was wrong or Kinnick got to them. The boys were on one yesterday, you two. And
Kinnick was on one.
And I'd love to hear from you, Kevin, because you were the one that was there. What was the environment like?
It was one of those games. It just like, the first game of the year feeling. It's like hyped up. We're back in Kinnick, back in front of the fans and stuff. But like in a regular year, like you know that feeling.
Yeah.
Like 3 times that, just because it's been built up for so long. That there was, people just so freaking happy to be back in Kinnick, cheering on the Hawks. The IOWAs were strong. It was just a fun time.
You're a big fan of the IOWA chant, huh?
Oh, that's my favorite thing.
That's your thing.
That's my thing. It was just great energy in Kinnick Stadium.
The atmosphere around
Was
Kinnick.
there a Busch Light shower over the Swarm Inn?
No, there wasn't.
Disappointed.
Maybe we should do the Busch Light showers and the Swarm out after,
Oof.
In heaven, there is no beer starts.
Oh, that's what he meant. He meant the Swarm back.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I cannot say if that happens.
We probably shouldn't advocate for that because then when someone does do it and then they get thrown out of the stadium, they're going to be like, well, the walk-on said that we should be Busch Light showering the players,
listen, boys, I'm 100% advocating for Busch Light showers, and if they get kicked out of the stadium, that's on them. I still get to watch the game.
That's true. That's true. The Hawks win 34-6, and it's a score, a result, an end game that I don't think, you heard us the other day. We all were iffy on if the Hawks cover 3.5, right? They covered more than 3.5. 4 touchdowns was the difference. And guys, what happened? What's going on? Are we the best team in the country? Did we get lucky? There's a lot of questions going on. Is our offense even good? We didn't even get to see them, right? Like,
I mean, it was 14-0, and we were kind of lucky, to be honest.
Yeah,
because like
I've got my
the first
opinions.
play of the game, we nutted them for the perfect call.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, it's probably not luck. Brian probably knew exactly what they're going to line up in on 1st down and 10, or whatever it was. It was his 1st or 2nd down.
I don't even know.
But then the pick 6 was luck, dude. That receiver screwed his quarterback pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, he threw it behind him a little bit, bounces off his hands, and sometimes as a DB, you just get a gift. It's like, hey, here you go. And he was quick enough to get in the end zone. Yeah, it looked like on that run play by Goodson that we did have a good call against them and kind of put him in a tough position to keep contained on the far side of the field. And Goodson's able to bounce it, and he's off to the races. Ain't nobody going to catch him. And yeah, we're up 14-0 2 minutes into the game. So, I mean, that always helps. Momentum, some people deny it out there, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And
Ike said the O-line was melting on that Goodson touchdown. Bo responded, fondue melting cheese fountain was his description of what the O-line did to the D-line there. They walled it off. I think one of their defenders bit inside and gave up contain too.
Yep.
And if you give up contain to number 1-5, you heard Drake last week. What was it, Drake? Give that boy the ball? Something like that?
Hand that boy the football.
And he did the rest. He is a special player now. And this isn't the way it works, but if you take that run away from Tyler Goodson, a very average day by the offensive line. And this is why I think,
go ahead. Sorry.
And I think this is where the question becomes, we can be happy, right? 34-6, Indiana was hyped up. We were ranked basically the same. Are we going to be able to play a legit opponent in an opening matchup, right? Versus, a UNI or a Ball State like Iowa usually opens up with. And we answered all those questions, right? For one game. It was a 1-game data point. But the problem is some of this luck that we've mentioned, it doesn't happen every day, right? I think I would legitimately bet every dollar to my name that we do not have another game this year where we have multiple pick sixes in the game. I would actually put money down on that. And so the offense, which did not need to find a rhythm yesterday against the Hoosiers, they're going to have to do that. Spencer Petras is a big question. We're going to get to him. The other big question is the offensive and defensive line. Kevin, from inside the stadium, I'd love your just initial thoughts on sort of that.
Sure. I thought the defensive line generally played really well. We didn't let them establish any sort of run game.
Yep.
The only question mark is weren't really able to get pressure with just 4 guys rushing.
Yep.
So that's something that makes playing defense a whole lot easier, especially for that back 7.
When you do get a pressure
when you have guys like AJ Epinesa and
right.
Chauncey Golston.
We don't have one of those as of now.
Right. We don't have it's 3rd and 8. Like this
he's getting to the quarterback
back, and you either have to assign 2 guys like a running back to chip this guy, or you got 2 seconds to get rid of that ball. Right now we don't have that. I think Joe Evans can be that guy for us, but
Valk flashes.
For sure. And we don't have the guys getting pressure up the middle anymore. We don't have the Davion Nixon.
Yep.
But I thought they played really well in the run game.
Yep. I agree.
Which in my opinion is much more important.
Because of how good our back 7 is, right?
Sure, but it all starts with stopping the run. If you can't stop the run, if you give up 5-6 yards of carry, you can't win the game. You just can't.
It's true.
If you put them into 3rd and 8 and you don't get home with the defensive line, your back 7 can still play lockout coverage, and eventually someone's going to get there.
And it's what you saw yesterday. There were several times, and Hawk fans, I know that it's a hold your breath moment, but I think what Kevin just mentioned is a lot of what you're going to see this year. We don't have AJ Epinesa on the edge to scream and go get a guy, right? But we do have 4 guys who can maintain leverage, maintain a gap, and they will put a group pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, that's a good point, Clover, is we didn't let Penix get out of the pocket a whole lot.
I think he was scared too. He looks hesitant with that double ACL injury.
He really didn't look very sharp at all yesterday. Really in any facet of the game. He wasn't getting off his first read very well. He made some bad throws, and that's going to be a real question mark if Indiana can compete in the East or not.
It'll be interesting to see how their season kind of maps out now that Iowa set him down a little bit, because obviously, and those who listened to last week's podcast, when we brought Scott on from the Crimson Cast, they were very high on their team. They thought if they could win this game, they'd have some real momentum and maybe be able to challenge Ohio State for the East. They've got some questions, and
sure.
Yeah.
Now, I do think, going back to that opening, a little bit of luck right there. You change that first 2 minutes of the game, they don't blow contain. We don't throw an easy pick 6. And it's still 0-0 after 2 minutes. Completely different ball game. Who knows how things turn out?
I agree. I think, this is why we do this podcast, because I think the listeners and the fans need to hear this from us. The players, Kev, everybody on the inside at Iowa, they know that shit. They know that.
Yeah, for sure. They went over their film today. Every player on there got their grades, and both the coordinators are going to address their side of the ball and go over their goals. It's like, okay, yeah, Phil's going to be, pretty happy with how
Phil's going to be happy.
On the offensive side of the ball, I don't think they're going to be super happy with how well they ran the ball, how well they did on 3rd down, or just their overall efficiency as an offense.
I want to assure the listeners, the fans, Walk On Army, that the offense knows that they have to bring some urgency and they have to find it quickly, because
they did play a good defense. Indiana does have a good
and that is the one thing that I put down that I want to make sure everybody mentions. I had a guy in my DMs, Kev and Drake. This guy, we were 3 minutes into the second half, and he was telling me how he basically sent me a message that said, Kluve, just admit we were not in a conversation before this. This was message number 1. He goes, Kluve, just admit Petras is not a big time gamer. He doesn't have it. Our offense is just average, and we can't win a Big Ten title with this team. We'll be good. We'll be better than good, but we won't be great. And I responded back, and I was like,
why do you always get these guys in the DMs? Like I never get these people.
Well, because I'm the one who kind of handles all the social media, and they know that you guys probably won't answer. I said, you know what? You might be right. And if you are, it's just going to be tough, because you and I, buddy, we can't do anything about it. And Spencer's clearly been touted from all the coaches as the clear number 1. So we ain't getting anything that's better than that. All right. Just enjoy the win, my guy. Like we were up 31-3 at this point. I'm like, you just got to find a way to be happy, because if you can't right now, then you're going to have a hard time being a sports fan for the rest of your life. And he later on was like, hey, thanks for talking me off a ledge. And I was like, sure. I mean, it's just logic, right? But I think there is a lot to ledge. Yeah, well, a figurative ledge, I think.
Hopefully. I mean, don't be a fucking loser. There's 5 more.
There you go. I got to hit. I've got the soundboard. I got to use it. So you're right. There's an urgency that this offense has to bring into an environment that's not going to be on their side, right? We've played and talked about Jack Trice Stadium. It's an environment.
And it's going to be juiced up more than it ever has been in the entire history of the rivalry.
The kids say lit nowadays, Jack Trice Stadium is going to be the definition of lit. It is going
to be on fire.
The place is going
fire
to be.
Fire marshal's going to come in and it's like, why do we have 60,000 people here when the building is fucking burning down?
Yeah, it is burning down. It is absolute torch lava hot. And here's what I'm concerned about. I love that the Hawks won, but we're in the business of being the noise now. And I'm concerned that, one, Petras has now played one game as a starter in front of a legitimate crowd, but it was a crowd that was for him in his home stadium. That will change on Saturday. The hype, which the guys usually do a pretty good job of blocking out, could not be any higher than maybe other than like maybe a playoff game or the national champ. I mean, this thing is now game day, is coming to Ames for a second time in 3 years. It's unheard of.
Right. We got two potentially top 10 ranked teams going at it for the highest ranked matchup ever between these rivalry. And unlike the last time game day was there, there's more than likely not going to be a 4-hour weather delay.
More than likely.
Which means we're going to have a full stadium of people that have been boozing for a while.
Boozing.
And going to be amped.
And most of them are going to be wearing Cardinal. I don't even know what they call it. Cardinal and gold, Cardinal and yellow. I don't know.
We call it ugly around here.
They have the ugliest colors.
It's not good. And now recently all they do is like is promo their black uniforms. They're trying to like look because like the Hawks.
The weird red and gold just looks ugly. It's just bad look.
I am concerned, or I think it should be. It is a question. Is Spencer, who last year, even in empty stadiums against real competition when it actually counted, has shown that he's had a little bit of happy feet. He's had a little bit of jumpy pocket presence, both of which I personally believe he showed improvement on Saturday.
I think he had better poise in the pocket. Sure.
Not as good as even like a Sean Clifford, or a couple other guys in the conference, but I think he got better. Is he going to be able to handle that environment? Is the young offensive line going to be able to handle a stout defensive line, a stout defensive front in Iowa State, one that is a tough scheme to play against, and they play it well, and one that will have guys who are juiced to the gills to finally knock off the Iowa Hawkeyes after a 5-year break, right? I mean, I'm not making excuses here. These are the questions, but a lot of things are stacked in Iowa State's favor. And I would say Iowa State's still favored to win the game. I think they are. I think it's down to like,
it's dropped down significantly.
I think it's a 2 or 3 point favorite.
Yep.
Which is basically call it the home field advantage. Iowa State, they're not going to look like they did against UNI because Kevin Drake, you may have the answer. I don't. They always bring the A game when it's against
they generally give the best game to us.
This will be the best game they play all year.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them we've played them before where they lost to UNI week 1 and then they turn around and they play us really tough.
Yeah, all of a sudden they look like a football team.
It's
right?
like they practice like in camp for week 2 and are looking.
It really is weird. Their slow starts are odd, but they're gonna give their best shot, right? Purdy's gonna hit those throws that are annoying. Breece Hall, he's gonna make those runs that are annoying. They're going to make plays. And the defense is very unlikely to output a performance 2 weeks in a row like they did this first week.
I wouldn't count on them scoring 14 points for the offense, but
correct.
I think we can match up really well against them. I'm confident in how the defense is going to play.
If this was a game, Kevin, and I remember one game, I believe it was when you went on your rant about the boys stepping up like way back in episode 63. And you were like, this one's on the defense. If you told me that the offense was going to go out there and get us 24 points, the defense is going to take that and say, don't worry, we got this, boys. What does what does the defense have to hold Iowa State to for this game? What's the range? Where are we at here?
I mean, if you tell me the offense scores in the 20s,
then you think
I mean, the defense always has a goal. Yeah, I think
17 points or something.
I think it was 18 points our senior year. That was, there was math and analytics behind all of our statistical goals, but I think it was like 18 points. 18 points, at least 2 turnovers, less than 3.3 yards per carry, and less than 2 big plays.
Yeah.
You do all those things, it's like hard to lose.
Very hard to lose. It's a formula. They have big play guys. Breece Hall is, they think he's a dude. They think he's a Heisman candidate. I don't know if he is or not. You and I found a way to hold him to 16. And I know for a fact the boys are going to be watching that tape.
Mm-hmm.
Turnovers, you mentioned. Big. Obviously, Hawkeyes won that one in the first game, but we did see Tyler Goodson and Ivo both put one on the floor.
Don't like that.
And I know that they're going to be kicking themselves. I don't think it will become a problem, but the turnover battle is always something that you have to pay attention to.
It could very well be, what makes the difference in this game.
Absolutely.
And penalties. And that's another thing that we did really well against Indiana's. I think they had 60, 70 yards of penalties. I think we only had 2.
We only had 2 penalties, which is really, really good, especially compared to last year where we came out in those first couple games. And I think we had like 8 or 10 penalties in both of those first 2 games. It was ridiculous, dude.
Yep. And in a high emotion game, it's going to be like, don't you dare like throw a punch or a shove or anything like that. All that stuff is going to be crucial to who comes out on top of this one.
Yeah. We're going to go into some other stuff from the game here real quickly, but I want to quickly give a new shout out. You guys are absolutely insane. And I know this is part of the growth with the iHeart stuff and the football's back and people are spreading the word. Hopefully when Drake recovers, you haven't heard him speak for a while. He's probably on the pod again. Drake and I during the week, hopefully are going to be producing a little extra Patreon specific video content for you guys, little mini episodes that we've been trying to sort of catch a rhythm with. And I think now that there's a bunch of football content, it's a perfect time to do it. We got some new walk-on army. We are growing. We are adding warriors to the front. And those warriors this week are Ben, Jake, Mitchell, and Jason. Thank you guys for joining the walk-on army on Patreon. Hopefully you guys enjoy that content. Back to the game. We've talked a lot. Obviously, the defense, Riley Moss is extremely fast. We have a great back 7. Seth Benson all over the field.
I really like our backers and Belton out there and playing that slot cash kind of hybrid linebacker defensive backs. I think our back 7 is damn good.
Hard to beat.
Damn good.
I think what's funny about that is our 8th guy, Justin Jacobs, he might have the most impressive physical look to him out of all of them. Like that dude.
He's an unarmed mannequin for sure.
He's like 6'2" or 6'3", 245, and I guess he can fly. So where were those genetics when I was born, right? I think the defense is going to be fine, like you said, Kev. The offense, they are what they are right now. For the Petras Warriors and the offensive Warriors, and you guys can maybe disagree with me on this, I don't think they even sort of got a chance to find a rhythm with how the defense was playing and how we didn't really need to be urgent on offense because we were up so quickly. What do you think about the offensive line play and the lack of maybe production from the wide receiving core in this first game?
Drake, you want to chime in or are you good?
He's probably dead.
I mean, I don't know. I was kind of expecting offense to run the ball better. but it's week 1, man. Like there's so much improvement that gets made between week 1 and week 2. I always only use week 1 as purely enjoyment from a fan standpoint. Just watch the game and really enjoy the shit out of it, knowing that the team's going to use the whole week with the film and everything to try and polish up what they did. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to coming out and just showing that they're the more mentally tough team in Jack Trice. Like we're just always the more mentally tough program, and our improvements are going to come from that.
Yeah, I think one thing that could be a reason why we couldn't really get a rhythm going in the run game is, they're still kind of rotating their offensive line a little bit. Yeah. So that can be kind of tough to get in a rhythm. I don't know. I would like to see sooner rather than later them find the formula for what they want to go with and stick with it.
I think the biggest thing that I keep coming back to as I think about yesterday's game is it was weird because we didn't have, like, we come out of half 31-3. The only goal is to drain that clock and just leave with a dub and all your players healthy. Like at this point, you still want to go score, right? But there is not any longer the urgency to pull anything funky out of the playbook or really go and try and just beat those guys down. You've already built that lead. They're trying to get out of there, right, and be healthy for Iowa State. And it was we had a few scares there. I know Laporta limped off. Freaking Charlie Jones, my guy, my favorite returner in the history of ever. He got taken off the field. Linderbaum was down for a quick second on the Petras draw. How about the Petras draw, by the way?
Hey, sneaky athletic, man.
I like that call now. I like that call.
Hey, no one's
He's looking a little bit
for sure.
Looking a little bit like the golden goat on that QB draw.
Yeah.
That was very CJ-esque.
Yep. Giving up his body, diving over the end zone. I don't think he's got that mobility, but I do think he is more mobile than last year. And I think that will benefit the Hawkeyes as well. Linderbaum, I think everybody in the stadium was holding their breath. It was like, and I think once they replayed it, it looked like a Charlie horse. He got like a helmet to the thigh.
Yeah.
We need him to be healthy. We need Shooter to come back. I don't think that's going to happen this week. The thing I keep coming back to is that Indiana's defense is going to be one of the best in the Big Ten. I think that's true. I think their back seven is one of the best potentially in the country and definitely up there top 3 in the Big Ten, similar to ours. I think it's probably us, them, and you go find another one, right?
Yep. And Iowa State runs a similar style defense, so it's probably good for them to get a look versus the 4-3 that Iowa runs that they were seeing all camp. So
yeah,
a little bit of advantage there. Yeah, they just. We're in a great place. We're 1-0. We won.
It's a great spot, and we don't need to
by 28 points.
I can sense you, Kev. I know you're starting to think like your wheels are looking at Iowa State, and you want to break it down. We're going to do that on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know. And there's people out there that always want to try to make a loss out of a win.
Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah, enjoy.
Like you'll be happier if you don't.
Enjoy the win. The guys on the inside of the program know, hey, it's time to celebrate. It's over. We're on to the next week.
Yep.
And we got to improve, and we will. And we're going to improve week to week to week throughout the season. Whoever improves the most is going to fare the best.
Yep. I'll leave you guys with this. Pretty simple recap tonight. I want to come back around to the implications in the Big Ten West. As I mentioned earlier, you couldn't pray. You couldn't pray and hope and wish for a better start for Iowa in the Big Ten West. You have Minnesota, who loses a Big Ten matchup to Ohio State. Not that they were the biggest contender, but they were probably in the top 3 out of the other 6 teams. You have Northwestern, who goes and looks like trash, basically, against a Michigan State team that was the dumpster of the Big Ten last year. And they're now 0-1 in the Big Ten. And you have Wisconsin, who is, the West runs through Madison, and they go and they lose a home opener to Penn State, who looks, slightly improved from last year as well. So you've got the three biggest contenders for Iowa, all sitting at 0-1 in the Big Ten, and Iowa sitting at 1-0. They gained some ground on that race. And Kevin has now shifted his computer screen, for those watching the YouTube, to the whiteboard.
Shit, that's backwards. You can't see that, can you?
No, I can see it.
Well, you can see it. You can't read it.
No, it says walk-ons 0-1, Iowa 1-0. Is the walk-ons 0-1 meaning that we missed on basically every bet we had?
That we went 1-7-1. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
but,
Kevin,
hey, that bottom one, that's the only one that fucking matters, baby. Hawks by a million. And Kevin's got the whiteboard out. Drake is actually doing this from his new computer. We didn't even mention it, but he's also doing it from the toilet. So it just is what it is. We're in a good spot. And if you're an Iowa fan, I also want to leave you with this, because I know things get irrational quickly. We beat Indiana, a lot of hype around this game. It's the one that matters out of this first two, right? Before we get to play a couple paper cupcakes. Still won't be an easy win. Remember that your expectations 36 hours ago were, if we could just win this game, it would be fantastic for most of you, right? Just because we went out and won by 4 touchdowns. A lot of you fans, if you don't rationally, logically think to yourself, and understand that these games are so hard to win on a weekly basis, many of you have now subconsciously shifted your focus to, well, at this point, now we should definitely be, if we can beat Iowa State, we should just go undefeated. Wisconsin lost, who's going to beat us, right? Wisconsin, we don't play Penn State, or we do play Penn State. They're the only, we don't have Ohio State. We don't have Michigan. Like, why would we lose a game? Right. And you have to curb yourself from that emotion and from that logic, because every game is its own individual event and collection of luck. It's 12 1-week seasons.
Exactly.
Now, that being said, is there a game on our schedule that we can't win? Absolutely not.
We're in every one.
We're in every one. We're going to be favored in a lot of them, and the ones that we're not, it's going to be damn close. So, week 1, high expectations for this team. We'll see week 2. If you took the over 8.5 wins on the season, you're looking great.
You're feeling good.
Yep.
You're feeling very good. Hey, now if I offer you that same bet, you're leaning 9 wins.
Oh, I told you, if we go 1-1, I think it's a lock.
Yeah.
If you go 1-1 to start the season, I think over 8.5 wins is a lock.
Because now, even to win that bet, you have to find 3 losses is still a win for that bet. And at this point, the Hawks are feeling good, but they're feeling urgency. And you guys, I know as fans, be nervous, be excited, be anxious for this game coming up against the Cyclones. We're going to preview it all with a guest on Thursday, but relax and enjoy this as a Hawk fan for the next few days.
And you know what? Reach out to some Iowa State alumni that you know. You know what? Tell them, hey, fuck State.
I love this show, dude. We'll be back on Thursday with Ward's winners, hopefully with a little bit of a taste of what each team can do now. The boys can close this week off with, maybe we can at least go 500 this week. That would be awesome. Little steps, right? 1% better. And by the end of the season, we'll be banging out winners every week. We'll be back with analysis of Iowa State, a guest, and plenty of game day talk and all the shenanigans that are going to go along with the hype of this week. Enjoy being 1-0. Enjoy being a Hawkeye fan. It's Hawks by a million. Thanks for listening to episode 246. We'll talk to you next time.